Hi everyone, delonewolf here and welcome back to this Sunday recap, my weekly vlog where I talk a bit about my last week in games. And when it comes to EVE Online, I played a little bit less EVE Online. Number one, pretty busy at my work, so I had to put in a lot of energy there, which left me with not too much energy. Number two, in the second part of the week, Dital was hit, or actually early on already, Dital was hit by an invasion that does limit what you can do around the system quite a little bit. So I went patrol busting on a couple of occasions, nothing too major, just try to tackle a couple of patrols, get the loot, get the salvage. It's pretty rewarding, especially if you can handle them without having to retreat, but it's also a bit more risky than something like conduits, because if a third patrol lands early on, even my rattlesnake can get into trouble and I can be forced to retreat. So it's something that I try to do, but I'm not gonna grind that down for hours or anything like that. It's fun to do in between, and honestly the loot and the salvage that you get out of it with a little bit of luck is actually pretty impressive for something that doesn't need a lot of traveling once you've located a first patrol, because they do tend to just keep coming. So that's a bit of an advantage. The disadvantage of doing that in Dital is that there's so many structures there that it's like 90% sure that you'll find them on structures and they'll be bouncing from structure to structure, which means no mobile tractor unit to deploy, because you do tend to fight a little bit close to them. You could try a warp in, but I think it's actually worth it to be very close so that you can dock in case of an emergency as well. So that's what I've been doing, and on the first couple of days of the week I still managed a little bit of exploration as well. Found some 4 out of 10s, nothing super special in the drops, but like some remote reps and things like that that do make a decent amount of ISK, and that's still of course my favorite playstyle in EVE Online at the moment. For the passive stuff, of course, I'm keeping up with my PI production, but I'm not selling at the moment. If you follow EVE Dog, then you know that when it comes to PI, outside of a couple of exceptions like coolants and like the material that's needed for the new implant, everything is clearly overproduced. Demand is below average and so are the prices, so I am basically hoarding everything and waiting for a better time to sell. On the blueprint copy business front, with a little bit of less time, I only did one trip to Jita, set up my contracts, and I think every week I do generally sell like a dozen of them pretty easily, and I think I could optimize it with a little bit of work, some extra trips, but for right now I'm very happy with the results of the blueprint copy business. You know, if I find some more time and energy, I might look into what are the best performing ones. Should I try to focus on some others? Should I somehow try to manage 2 trips? My brother is helping producing copies at this point as well, so profits are up, and they're actually selling, some of them are selling for like 20 to 30 million ISK even for some of the ship BPCs. So it is pretty amazing to see the results of that, and for some pretty passive efforts, I must say. When it comes to the future, of course, right now I would say that there's a lot of opportunities in the market, because we're in this special place where it's the holidays, lots of sales, lots of gifts from CCP, and so lots of materials I think are in a pretty weird place, and then we get 4 months until FanFest, so I do think that there's investment opportunities there as well. And we know that CCP is now looking at the resource distribution of the game. I think this will mean potentially an end to the super self-reliance that 0.0 is enjoying at the moment, and more need for trade, more need for compression, and just potentially also bringing back some extra conflict in the game, where everybody's not just happy to live in a number of systems depending on the size of the alliance, and that they can just, you know, blue everyone around them. If you want to keep making stuff, then you are going to have to start to move around for the resource and things like that. At this point I'm not sure if they'll do the depletion mechanic, which Hilmar has often hinted at, right? If you like over farm your fields, they tend to deplete, and so you'll have to move somewhere else if you want to keep doing that activity, or you can try to aggressively farm the fields of your neighbors, but that should create conflict. So hopefully they can manage that. Right now I get the feeling that it's more about tweaking just the output that is potentially generated in regions, and I'm not sure if such a dynamic system is already on the radar, but it would be very cool, of course. It could bring back conflict in Zero. Just saying, we're gonna cut everything down in half, we're gonna take away certain minerals and give that to that region, or maybe to Hisek for Veldspar and Tritanium, which I think is the idea of the first few changes. I don't think that will be enough to create conflict in the current 0-0, but the dynamic system, of course, with the ability to aggressively farm down the farming capabilities of your opponents, is something that could potentially lead to more conflict. So yeah, very excited about that, of course, and then looking forward to FanFest and everything else that CCP is planning for the game. And then we have the second game of the week, which is of course Path of Exile with the new Metamorph League. I jumped in on that right from the start. I made my Necromancer Witch with a bit of a plan. Also have a guide to follow, focusing on the skeleton physical damage, and it's going really well. I was very lucky, got an early Tabula Rasa with 6 links, so I managed to make my skeletons very powerful early on. Pushed through the maps with, pushed through the acts to the maps with like 2 deaths. One on the very first Metamorph that I made. I was a little bit surprised at how powerful that stuff becomes, and then another one in the second Labyrinth where, well, it just one-shot me out of nowhere, to be honest, but that happens. Luckily I'm in softcore, so I managed to keep going, and since then I have made my way into tier 4, tier 5 maps. I did actually a decent amount of grinding in those maps because I'm level 87. I hardly get any XP from those maps anymore, and I feel really very safe, very powerful. I've got a big army, got a very lucky mace drop that gives me an extra stone golem as well, so extra defenses, extra life regen. It's going really amazingly well, but yet again I am hitting that wall where I feel like it's becoming very grindy. It's also possible that I'm making some mistakes when it comes to the Atlas, when it comes to mapping. I have found the first 4 bosses, so I've got 4 stones to upgrade regions of my Atlas so that they start to drop higher tier maps. I think that's how it works, but I haven't really found any, or found the way to consistently get those better tier maps. I do think that Zana sells them from time to time, but I haven't figured out why she now started selling maps. Why is she not selling maps this time that I visit her? I'm really not sure how all of it works exactly. But I'll try to figure it out, and if not, then maybe I'll move to another character or something like that. But that's that wall that I hit into at this point pretty consistently. We'll see if I can break through that, or if it's just too grindy. I'm still not sure at this point, because Steam also keeps throwing interesting sales at me, so I've got a bit of a choice to make there. But yeah, Path of Exile, free-to-play game. It is absolutely amazing. This new league, I think, has been a lot of fun, especially now that they've done an update where you no longer have to grab all the organs, except of course for the highest tier ones, which you then need to assemble in the lab. But all of that is now super smooth. It doesn't take too long, right? You just make the Metamorph, you try to tackle it, then it drops potentially uniques, lots of uniques actually from the Metamorphs. You can build your own, you can focus on highest level possible, or you can focus on that loot. It's a fun mechanic. It's actually a pretty amazing league. Not too many bugs early on, couple of crashes, things like that, but at this point everything has stabilized quite nicely. And yeah, I'm in that mapping phase again, level 87, not getting any XP from the maps, seeing how I need to progress progress. I'm just really not sure how I should do that, how I should try to handle it. I think there's something I'm doing wrong with the Atlas missions that you get from all the characters, but yeah, we'll see. So far though, it's been a lot of fun. Necromancer, it is my playstyle, and yeah, if I do end up going for something else at this point, I already look forward to the next league, to more Path of Exile with another fresh start. I really love the way that Path of Exile is being developed at the moment, and it's a lot of fun to play, no matter how hardcore you want to go. So I can't see myself go for like 8 hours a day for like a month straight, or even the full league straight. I can't do that, but no matter, I can have fun. Now I've got lots of uniques. I could try to build up other characters, try to find some cool synergies between the uniques that I have and the abilities that I could use there. So there's almost endless possibilities and replayability in Path of Exile. It's actually very, very impressive, and yeah, that's why after more than 600 hours played, I did also support them with a supporter pack. So I've got a very cool looking witch at this point for the Necromancer, which I think is yeah, my favorite playstyle and probably gonna be my eternal league starter. But there you go, guys, that's my last week in gaming. Thank you very much for watching. Happy holidays, and I'll see you all next time.